What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to my first speed run here on YouTube. And as you can see, I just opened a new account on Lichess, and I go by the name Tennison Master because this is the account I'll be using for my Tennison Gambit speedruns. So what I'm going to do is to try and improve my rating from scratch with only the Tennison Gambit. If you don't know the Tennison Gambit, this is where white begins with knight f3, and then after pawn to d5, the top played move, you now go pawn to e4. If pawn takes, you go knight g5, counter-attacking the pawn. By the way, I should mention to say this is not the perfect opening in the world. There are so many videos that I have on my channel where you can learn serious openings and other serious stuff for classical tournaments. The Tennison Gambit is mostly suitable for players who just want to have some fun in blitz and rapid chess. So with knight g5, we aim to take back the pawn on e4. Black usually defends with knight f6, and then this is when you can go pawn to d3. By the way, knight c3 is also playable. We'll look at that in the near future. Also bishop c4, even queen e2. But pawn to d3 is the main line, and after pawn takes, you just take back with the bishop, waiting for black to blunder. With this move, pawn to h6, as you can see. And now you simply sacrifice your knight on f7. If king takes, you go bishop g6 check, stopping black's king from escaping or going back to e8. And say if king takes, you just go ahead and grab a free queen. By this time of the game, most of your opponents are going to resign because they can't just play without a queen. But you see, not all days are Mondays. I'm pretty much sure that not everyone is going to accept my Tennison Gambit, or in other words, the game won't just go as planned. Sometimes black may start with knight f6, after playing knight f3. Sometimes they might play pawn to c5, sometimes knight c6. So at the end of the day, I'll still have to play other openings. Without wasting much of your time, let me challenge my first opponent with this new account and see how far I'm going to go with it. By the way, be sure to check out my new courses on demand that include the English opening, Caro-Kann defense, and Semi-Slav defense course. Right, so here we go. I'm playing against a 1021 rated opponent, knight f3. I expect to see d5. Let's see what my opponent is going to do. Wow, it feels weird to, play my first game on this new account. There we see knight f6. Okay, I guess the game will still transpose after pawn to d3. I'll go pawn to e4 after d5, then knight g5. So I'm calculating in advance. There we see pawn to d5 just like I anticipated. So I expect black to take, and then I'll go knight g5. Let's see if my prediction will come true. Yep, so there we see d takes e4, and now I don't have to take back. So knight g5 is the move, counter-attacking the pawn on e4. If pawn takes, I'm going to take back with my bishop. So there's also pawn to h6, but I can just take on e4 with my knight, and then take back with the pawn, exchange queens. I also have knight h3. Okay, pawn to h6. There we see pawn to h6. So I have two options, either to take on e4 with my knight or go knight h3. The problem with knight h3 is black has bishop takes h3, and my kingside pawns will be messed up, and then bishop d3, rook g1. The other option is to take with my knight on e4, but after this, I'll have to accept, playing the rest of the game without my queen. So let me just play knight h3 anyways. Yep, knight h3. If bishop takes, I have pawn takes, and I'm going to take on d3 with my last squad bishop, then start controlling the g file with my rook. So there we see bishop takes, and then pawn takes. So the whole purpose of, doubling up my pawns along the h file is to start controlling the g file with my rook. There we see pawn to e5. Okay, now taking on d3. Let me just play rook g1. So if bishop d6, I'll just take on g7. That's the idea. Of course, any grandmaster or stockfish can easily crush me if I play like this. So chess has levels, you guys. There are levels to these things. So knight c6, I'm now thinking of playing knight c3. Yeah, because what else can black do? Yeah, so knight c3, if bishop b4, I have rook takes g7. Yeah? Wait a second. Black just played knight d4. So knight d4 is kind of tricky The plan is to go knight f3 check and win my rook. But nevertheless, I have knight takes e4, right? Yeah. I can take on e4 with my knight in order to prevent knight f3 check. So far, my opponent has done a great job of declining my Tennison Gambit. Maybe he knows one or two things. He or she knows one or two things. Anyway, or maybe they know one or two things. So knight takes e4, and then if knight takes, I'm going to take back with my pawn. I don't know what else, black can do here apart from taking my knight. Maybe bishop e7 or bishop d6, but still I have rook takes g7. Okay, there we see knight takes e4. Now I can take back with my pawn. And still, if bishop b4 check, I have pawn to c3, by the way. And capture on g7 later on. So that's just how powerful my rook on g1 is. Preventing black from moving his dark squared bishop. So the next move I want to play is pawn to c3, by the way. Never should you entertain your enemy's piece in your territory. So there we see bishop c5. Yeah, I can just take. Rook takes g7. That's what my rook was doing there. But I see things like queen h4, which black can play here, or queen f6. I can't believe my 1021 rated opponent is making these strong moves, which explains something to me that people have improved so much with this YouTube thing. But you see, this is the stage where most intermediate level players tend to mess up things after playing very well in the opening stage. There we see queen f6. Yeah, I saw this coming and I remember mentioning it. But okay, with queen f6, black wants to play knight f3 check. He is not just attacking my rook. So rook g3 anyways, preventing knight f3 because I'm just going to take with my rook. So the next thing I'm supposed to do is to chase black's knight away from d4, away from my territory. This is my territory, which I have highlighted coming down. So you don't want to entertain your enemy's pieces in your yard, in your territory. And black just castled long, by the way. Now I can safely play pawn to c3. And then I'll play queen b3. Oh, no. Queen c2. Yeah, queen c2, because I still have to guard my f2 pawn somehow, stopping checkmate. Wow, okay, there we see knight f5. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. So my opponent was playing very well all along, but he just blundered. It just took him one move to hang a piece, to blunder. Of course, with knight f5, my opponent thinks he is attacking my queen. So, but I have queen f3 or queen g4. So queen f3, that was a simple miscalculation by my opponent. You see, when you want to make such sacrifices or tactical moves, make sure to go through all the lines in your mind thoroughly. Make sure to complete your calculations. Don't just rush to make these kinds of moves. Knight f5 was kind of a tactical move, which was also a discovery on my queen. So all my opponent needed to do was to take his time and analyze through before playing a move like knight f5, a tactical move. So with queen f3, I'm now pinning the knight to the queen. Two pieces are hanging. I'm gonna take the knight with my pawn, and this is what is happening. My opponent is taking a bit of time here. I might cut the video in the interest of time, because we don't have to wait the whole year looking at the board. Anyway. I'm tired. Okay, finally my opponent just resigned. In the interest of time, let's go straight into another game. And before I show you some more and more interesting stuff, allow me to thank all of my patrons and all of you guys who purchased my new E5 defense course, which is now complete, obviously, which teaches you how to beat the Scotch, the Italian game, the Bishop's opening, the Vienna game, and other minor openings under E4. Right, game number two. Game number two, I'm playing against a 1532 rated opponent. So knight f3, and my opponent is playing very fast again. I want to play the Tennison Gambit with pawn to e4. So this is one thing that you notice about most intermediate level players or most average players. They like playing very fast without, knowing what they're doing really. And this is not an insult. If anything, it's a call for improvement, you guys. You need to take your time, be patient on the board. There is no need to rush. Anyways, I just want to take back on d3 with my last squad bishop, and then after pawn to h6, I'm gonna sacrifice my knight on f7 and win the queen on d8. So bishop takes d3 is the move here. After pawn to h6, I'm gonna take on f7. So you see what I talked about. My opponent is just making random moves, playing very fast. So I'm going to win a free queen. This is what is happening here. If king takes f7, I'm going to play bishop g6, and then after king takes, I'm going to win a free queen on d8. If you remember very well, this is the exact line that I showed you in the intro of this video. So no need to be surprised, or no need to get surprised. So the lesson here is that whenever you come across an opening that is weird, that is not common to your eyeballs, you need to slow down, play slow chess. By the way, I can see that my opponent wants to take on g2 with that queen d5 mistake. I'm about to checkmate him, and you will see how this goes, you guys. I'm going to take the rook and then play bishop g6 check, probably after queen takes g2. Yeah, after queen takes g2, I have bishop g6 checkmate. Queen e5 check. Okay, this is a clever move. I've never seen anything like this before, but I still have bishop e3 blocking the check with my dark squad bishop and not with my elbow. Yeah, if bishop e3, I still have that checkmate. Bishop e3, queen takes b2, and then bishop g6 checkmate. Maybe they have this is what I'm talking about, queen takes b2. So again, you can see my opponent was just blazing out moves, playing without calculating deeply. You see, when you are not familiar with a certain gambit or a certain opening, play slow chess and try as much as possible to keep things solid. If necessary, just decline the gambit and close the position. That's how you beat most chess gambits. And before I end the video, let me show you how to play against the Tennison Gambit as black in order to avoid all these traps. After knight f6, pawn to d3, pawn takes, bishop takes, instead of playing pawn to h6, let's say you're playing black, the move to consider is knight c6, because knight c6 indirectly protects the queen in advance. Okay, so you won't have to worry about knight takes f7. For example, if knight takes f7, you can just safely take that knight, and if bishop g6, you can take that bishop as well, even with your king, so that if queen takes d8, now you can simply take back with your knight, and lo, just like that, you are up by 2 pieces. Look at this. Anyway, now time for you to go and check out my new e5 defense course, which I have also linked in the comment section down below. And I'm glad to say so far it has received a lot of attention and people are getting it like crazy. So it's an opening response that you try against white's e4 opening. You're going to learn how to play against the Scotch, the Ruy Lopez, the Bishop's opening, 3 Knights opening, the 4 Knights game, the Vienna game, even the Italian game. So it's the complete e5 defense course that I just launched with my team. You better go and check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye bye.